is Apgar. And you see, we've seen, this is the team, we saw them earlier here. A rematch matchup over in the Legacy seed. We just saw that deck tech with Andrew Phillips on his Depths Reanimator. He's playing against lands again. He lost to Kevin King a couple rounds ago, now against David Long. In the middle seat, Peter Bandi Affinity versus Rob Long's Grixis Shadow. Same matchup we saw there as well. Peter was victorious the last time he faced off. So the matchup that's different here is the standard one. That's going to be the one we're watching. Kyle, first player with a play. It's going to be a turn 2 Metallic Mimic, naming Zombie.
And mana base shaping up a bit awkward for Zan. First 2 lands gave him no green mana. Green is frequently the color that gets things going in this deck. Yeah,
you see his hand with 2 Traverse the Ulvenwalds and a Vessel of Nascency.
And, you will traverse to fix your mana often enough, at least the first one finding a basic land, but doing that on turn 4 of the game, it's a bit on the slow side.
He will get a forest on end step. So he can start to set things up here. Does have Traverse next turn. Might need to get a second green mana for Traverse so that he can start using those vessels.
He already has double blue, which enables Emerging Deep Fiend. With the Metallic Mimic being live, likely that casting Kozilek's Return not going to come up in a meaningful way here.
Right. Zan starts with Traverse. Get another forest. He picked up Grim Flayer that turn. Now, you actually had a chance to play some with this Emerge deck during the week. And you said you tried out some of the Grim Flayers?
I did not ever start them. I cut them before I even tried playing the deck.
Okay.
A lot of issues, be them removal spells, creatures on the other side of the table that made them unappealing.
But a card that is appealing is going to be Champion of Wits. It's a card one of the cards I'm most excited about in New Standard. Draws 2 to and then we'll discard 2.
Looks like he did pick up a Haunted Dead there, so he can start going to work there with the graveyard shenanigans.
Discards Vessel of Nascency and Haunted Dead, so that'll be his 4th card type in the graveyard if it turns on Delirium.
Be able to traverse for Elder Deep Fiend from here. No Kozilek's Return in the graveyard just yet.
Yeah, that was an interesting, a tough call he had to make. There was going to be a lot of mana to cast that Vessel, but it is a card that can help him mill over Kozilek's Return. We see Lord of the Accursed from Kyle. Comes to play with a 1/1 counter. Relentless Dead swings for 4, Xanis to 14. See Liliana's Mastery hiding out in Apgar's hand.
And the zombie deck applying a lot of pressure in this game, just curving out the way that it does. Not fully using its mana every turn, but developing its board presence, and because of the Mimic, actually converting pretty good rates.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Zombie's Goldfish speed isn't as quick as you would think. The deck's very resilient, got a lot of card advantage, but it plays more like a mid-range deck than an aggro deck.
So it's slow zombies.
Right.
Not fast zombies.
Yeah. Here's Botanical Sanctum for Zan.
Without the Kozilek's Return, the Elder Deep Fiend can be used as a way to mana short the opponent, tap all their lands, or you can use it either as a way to tap down creatures or to catch one in combat.
See Dark Salvation picked out for Kyle. It'll be Liliana's Mastery that he'll try, pre-combat. We'll pump the team and make 2 1/1s. We'll see if Zan has a response. Really starting to feel that he needs the Kozilek's Return out of the graveyard to clean this up.
Right, and it looks like he does have Grapple with the Past in his hand. He can try to hit it with that one.
Now to emerge Elder Deep Fiend here, he has to sacrifice the champion and use all 4 of his mana, which won't give him a window for Grapple with the Past. At least not this turn.
Right, you would have to take the hit here.
That's a big hit to take, yeah.
And hope to find the return.
If that was the line he was on, also, I think we would have seen him keep the Vessel of Nascency and gone for that instead. It mills more.
Sure, yeah, it does see more cards. Assuming that he had a, I guess you don't even need the other untapped land. It could, can manage things just fine with the lands already available.
See some counting of damage. We'll do the same. Lord of the Accursed is 4. Relentless Dead. It's like 5. Metallic Mimic is 4. So it's only 13. But Zan doesn't particularly feel like going to 1. He'll use Elder Deep Fiend here to tap out some creatures.
And with that other Traverse, or if he already has another Deep Fiend, he's still able to mill over return and just emerge Deep Fiend off of a Deep Fiend.
Yeah. Can he find the Kozilek's Return? 4 copies in his deck.
Oh, there was Prized Amalgam.
All right. Whatever.
Doing a lot worse on the zombie front than Kyle is currently.
Yeah, it feels like there's just 4 cards in his deck that matter at this point, but they're so good. The idea, I guess, that Zan could chain Deep Fiends to tap out blockers and attack, I think we're past that point.
There's too much stuff on the battlefield, and when the Deep Fiend has to emerge off the other Deep Fiend, you're not adding more power.
Sure. Not to mention Dark Salvation hiding out in Kyle's hand. At this point, it could just 1 mana kill the Elder Deep Fiend.
He does have the mana to bring back Haunted Dead and Deep Fiend. That only takes 5 total mana to emerge, and then he would have 2 Deep Fiends, assuming he has the other Deep Fiend in hand.
Okay, which he does, and a Traverse, so he can make a lot of Deep Fiends. All right, so here will be the Traverse. And is he might be looking to chain Deep Fiends. Yeah, he'll get a 3rd Elder Deep Fiend for his hand. And now I'm interested, as Zan looks to be playing a different line. I don't think he's playing for Kozilek's Return here. He might see a way to win just with attacking with Deep Fiends.
The Deep Fiend only costs blue to emerge, so he can grapple before he has to make any decisions off of that.
Right. And he'll cast Grapple with the Past. Mills over Prized Amalgam, the 4th Traverse. No K return.
And unfortunately, now that he's tapped that mana, obviously you can't cast Grapple here and also be able to activate Haunted Dead and emerge Deep Fiend. But you know, that's the problem. You'd like to be able to Haunted Dead here, but he's just going to die to the zombies.
Well, he's going to get back Champion of Wits. And what I do like about this is it gives him 1 more shot at K return. So this turn he can emerge Deep Fiend off of his Elder Deep Fiend. And then next turn, because he has the 3rd Deep Fiend, he can cast Champion. And if he draws into a Kozilek's Return, he can discard it. He'll have double blue left over. It adds up.
Sure.
Though, there's the worry, I think, would be that Kyle could throw a wrench in this with the Dark Salvation. Let's see how it plays out. So Zan passes. Back to Apgar. Five zombies in play. Another Liliana's Mastery drawn. If you really want to have your opponent dead in 2 turns, how about this? Another Liliana's Mastery. And are we at... No, they're still killable. They're still killable by Kozilek's Return. I was starting to get concerned.
They were exactly 5s, the zombies with the counters on them.
Well, Lord of the Accursed isn't going to die.
Yeah, that one has 6 toughness.
Zan will tap some zombies. Yeah, actually, Ryan, all the tokens are 6/6s.
Okay.
Kozilek's Return.
Yeah, this game's over.
Doesn't... The horde, the zombie horde has gotten too big.
Yeah, 4 Anthem effects is pretty good.
There's Champion of Wills. Yeah, we're going to draw the Kozilek's Return anyway. Don't worry about it. Grimflayer, something else. Got a lot of prized amalgams in the graveyard, but too many zombies.
And Zan can buy time to keep deep fiending, making combat a little bit tougher, but now there's 2 more zombies hanging out. It's more potential attacks every turn. If Zan can get 2 Kozilek's Returns into his graveyard.
If he had drawn double Kozilek's Return right there, that would do it. Well, but he can't. I mean, it would have had to have happened right there, right? Because he doesn't have another chance.
Yeah, it looks like he's out of it.
We have our first result. Mentioned that the deck's very popular, the most popular this weekend, and it's got a good shadow matchup. Peter Bandi takes game 1 over Rob Long on the Modern table. Bandi was a 2-0 winner over Dan Jessup, same matchup. Unfortunately for him in that match, his teammates were not able to close, which is why they are fighting this round. For the team of Phillips, Bandi, and Apgar, if they win this round, they are not necessarily in the top 8. They will need a win from Tom Ross's team. If that happens, they'll be in. If Tom Ross's team manages to fall, they'll finish 9th.
Right. Got to play it and then figure it out.
This mimics naming Zombie 2.
That's a good name.
Dark Salvation. I think he has enough to kill Deep Fiend. Zan's going to emerge Deep Fiend here. Maybe he can stay alive for another turn. Still gets the zombie. Dark Salvation double targeting.
It targets the player.
And the creature, yeah. It's like a searing blaze. And
this zombie gets 2 counters.
Ooh. Just to tap 4 blockers.
Attackers, rather.
Attackers, 4 tappers. Okay, they're all tapped. Zan is putting up a fight. I don't know what he's... Well, okay, if he can block with not Deep Fiend, and he has a grapple with the past, and he mills over 2 returns and picks up a Deep Fiend, boom, did it, easy.
Easy.
Yeah, and he'll actually have a chance to do that. You see, there aren't enough attackers.
If he does accomplish that, then he will have access to a bunch of amalgams and Haunted Dead in the graveyard.
He'll probably win that game.
Yeah, from that position, figuring out the rest is easy.
He has to have a grapple, and it has to mill over 2 Kozilek's returns, not just 1. And the Deep Fiend can't die. If the Deep Fiend has to chump block here, I believe he has no plays.
Yeah, that Mimic currently being pumped 3 times, lower double mastery, so it's only a 5. Can throw Deep Fiend in front of that one.
Okay, so he just has to... Yeah, so champion chump blocks, Mimic dies, and can Zan do it? All right, a pass. A lot of things have to happen here.
Drew Collective Brutality.
That's not it.
Nope.
Does he have a grapple? Or a Vessel would work too, actually.
Yeah.
Has enough mana for that.
I see another card in the chain as well.
Vessel would be better. He gets to mill more that way. Evens up. Matchup's kind of going the same way here as we saw their team last time. Andrew Phillips on Depth's Reanimator, unable to break through the Prison of Lands. It is David Long winning game 1 over on the Legacy board.
And the Lands deck does have a lot of play, especially against that particular build of Reanimator.
Zan has that grapple. The nice part is he doesn't have to do it at sorcery speed. Instant works fine. Westfield Abbey from Kyle.
You might, for some reason, see another creature committed.
Sure. Westfield Abbey actually punishes Zan for waiting. It means that in response to Kozilek's return, Kyle actually can make Ormondal.
Right.
I mean, that's all still resting on the fact that Zan hits.
Yeah, he already has to hit this completely unreal grapple.
Grapple. 2 Kozilek's returns have to be milled here.
Nope.
Miss.
Nope.
And we're done. And there's 1. Oh, so close. Not actually. The probability difference of hitting 1 and 2 is pretty huge. Gets back Elder Deep Fiend. 1 return in the yard. But we mentioned the creatures are out of range now. Zombies are 6/6s. It's just not going to do it. And he blocks one with an Elder Deep Fiend. He's going to emerge the other Deep Fiend, sacrificing this, and no, they're going to pass on Kozilek's return. Looks like on unblocked creatures, he's still taking lethal. He's got 4 zombies with a 1/1 counter on each. Tap the rest of Kyle's creatures. We'll see exactly how this turns up. So this is, I think, with Kozilek's return trigger on. I'll confirm exactly where they are. And with their turn trigger on the stack, Kyle's sacrificing 5 zombies. And I don't know if we're missing. I don't think return was lethal, was going to kill anything there. Right? Those zombies are being pumped 3 times. He's going to make Ormondal in response, so Kozilek's return not going to happen. Zan will exile. He may have miscounted.
And with that Lord of the Accursed off the table, kills the other ones, but the Ormondal is a real problem as well.
Right. May have missed something, or Zan just stole something right there. But he still has to beat the Ormondal, and that's not a guarantee.
I mean, yeah, good on him for getting the battlefield to this point.
Yeah, I was surprised about it. All right, but he'll pass. So let's look at Zan's deck list. Ways that he can answer Ormondal, if any.
Tap it a lot with Elder Deep Fiend.
Okay, he's almost out of those, however.
Grapple back Elder Deep Fiend.
Okay, I see a theme. Ormondal's going to attack. Zan down to 5, Kyle up to 24.
He's got a number of amalgams in the graveyard. I think it's 3. He has Haunted Dead, so he can get back 12 power that way. 5 off the Deep Fiend, 17. That's a bit shy.
Diagraph Colossus from Kyle. A 6/6 thanks to double mastery. Another Diagraph Colossus, a 6/6, which will bring a 4/4 with it. And we're going to see Haunted Dead brought back by Zan. That'll trigger some prized amalgams. This is during Kyle's main phase. Zan fighting valiantly here. It's still, he's a long ways from converting it into a win.
Yeah, he'll need to be able, I suppose now with the Spirit token, that can get in front of the Ormondal.
So these players, I remember we were watching like this table 1. Tom Ross, Todd Stevens, and Jody Keith going for the undefeated Swiss. So over in the match, Tom Ross played mono red for about 10 minutes, beat his opponent, and then stood up and left. So their teams, over you can see it here. Jody Keith and Todd Stevens still playing their matches.
Yeah, they don't need help.
Tom's hanging out, drinking a coffee.
And it was the full 4 amalgams here.
Okay, it's a large army for Zan.
That makes it 20 total power.
Okay. If he has another Deep Fiend, can he tap out these blockers?
You'd want to make sure, I suppose you leave that Spirit back and you could attack if you do that, though you do still die to these Diagraph Colossus.
Champion of Wills, or of Wits for Zan. Draw 2, discard 2. Finds Grim Flare and a land. He does have a flying blocker. He can chump block the Ormondal and maybe race back if he makes enough power of creatures.
Can't really attack given the size of the stuff on the other side of the battlefield.
Yeah, it looks like Zan's hoping to find a way to grapple or traverse for a Deep Fiend and then make a lethal swing.
Yeah, the Diagraph Colossus, presumably they'll be adding a bunch of zombies to the other side of the battlefield every turn.
Yeah, well, Kyle is out of cards. So right now, these are all the attackers he has. But you're right, any top-decked creature is just a huge... Every zombie comes with 2 4/4s attached.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, the 4/4s enter tapped, so they are a turn delayed for blocking duty. So Grim Flare in the land of the discards for Zan. He's thinking about attacking with Haunted Dead. Instead, he just passes. Figures you can use that as a chump blocker. And Zan looking over to his teammates, he sees some shuffling up. That's because his teammate Rob Long takes game 2 after sideboarding with Grixis Shadow, evening things up on the modern table at 1 apiece.
Kyle attack with just Ormondal, 8 the Spirit token.
Go back to Zan, does not find an out. So Kyle Apgar, Mono Black Zombies, closes the game out. Zan really on a back foot for a lot of that game. The 4-color merge deck is so stressful to play because you're losing up until the point when you win. And we just saw that at play on display.
It's really similar to Dredge in Modern. Kind of the issue is the power level isn't actually as high as that deck. It's just the play patterns are similar, and you're stressfully flipping cards over the top of the deck.
Come on, Kozak's turn. But then, had Zan hit it, there were a lot of spots there where it was lights out.
Right.
Well, let's take a look at some of the sideboards. Starting on Syed's side. He said he liked some of the updates that he had done since last week playing the deck. 3 Fatal Push. He has switched out the Bantu's Last Stand for Yahenni's Expertise, a change he said was very important for the deck. So here are 3 Yahennis. 2 Liliana the Last Hope. He has the 3rd copy of Collected Brutality, a Manglehorn, a Tireless Tracker, a Kalitas, an Ishkana, a Distended Mindbender for a 5th Eldrazi, and then a card of copy Never to Return.
So at the end of the game there, Kyle had plenty of Anthem effects, but Yahenni's Expertise can be quite good in a lot of the games. You can buy a good amount of time there as well. Frequently be a 4-mana sweeper. And Distended Mindbender is actually pretty good against the Zombies deck, given that they're building up to Liliana's Mastery, and they have a good mix of smaller spells as well.
Yeah, there actually is you can expect that Distended Mindbender might hit 2 cards in this matchup.
Right, it's another way to trigger Kozilek's Return, which is really the most important thing here as well.
Yeah, on Kyle's side, his sideboard is 3 Scrap Heap Scroungers, 3 Transgress the Mind, 3 Liliana the Last Hope, 2 Fatal Push, which are copies number 2 and 3, 2 Kalitas, a Never to Return of his own, and a Sky Sovereign Council Flagship.
This matchup's kind of the ceiling for Kalitas. This is a really good sideboard card coming in against the Prized Amalgams, the Haunted Deads. It's not in the order of Anafenza. The creatures have to die from the battlefield, but it's really easy to clean up a lot of stuff with that one. Transgress the Mind is reasonable. There's a lot of stuff that costs 3+. Getting those Deep Fiends out of the hand stops Kozilek's Return from triggering, so that one's pretty good as well.
It's been a while since we've had the rally metagame in Standard where these cards like Kalitas and Anafenza were just that second ability. The creatures getting exiled was everywhere, and it was like the selling point on the cards. Kalitas, it's been a while since you've really played it for that value, but you're absolutely right against Haunted Deads and Grim Flayers.
Right, and when you are trying to set up Haunted Dead, Elder Deep Fiend to trigger Kozilek's Return, and doing that sequence causes your Haunted Dead to be exiled, it feels pretty bad.
That definitely does. And then the Transgresses, you mentioned Elder Deep Fiend and Kozilek's Return can both get hit by that. That's nice. Expect to see those come in. This match, very possibly for a spot in top 8. This team's playing for that. Now, how we're going to work over on coverage here is with our Twitch subscription program. So at the end of this round, we start our top 8 an hour after the conclusion of the round. So we need to take time for all 24 players, really, they get to receive deck checks and decklist verifications, get the players seated. At that point, though, we'll start our top 8. Now, during that break, we will let you get to vote on the players and decks you want to see in the top 8. So if you're a subscriber to our Twitch channel, you can help us decide the quarterfinals. Voting opens 1/2 hour after the conclusion of this round.
A lot of big names and sweet decks already locked for the top 8. Might see even more here.
Yeah, we have the team that's been running away with the tournament. Jody Keith, Todd Stevens, Tom Ross. Metagame Gurus in top 8. Tannen Grace, Kevin Jones, Harlan Fear, they are in as well. I said the winner of these 2 teams hoping to get in with a win here. Looking for some help from either Jody Keith or Todd Stevens.
Anthony Hazuka and Brandon Roberts, please come up to the main stage. Anthony Hazuka and Brandon Roberts, please come up to the main stage.
And we race, so game number 2 here. Zan will be on the play. It was close on the first game. Talked about how strong Kozilek's return was in the matchup. Felt like the most important card. Zan went through a good many cards without ever finding it.
This kind of thing is very powerful, but it's also just essential. Not finding it frequently will mean a game loss.
And underway for our second game here. Dread Wander will be the start for Kyle Apgar. Zan having left some fatal pushes in. See if we will see one of those Grim Flayers, and we will on turn number 2. It's the 2-2. He plays instead of strategic plannings. I know that you're saying you liked the spell. This is a fragile way to mill yourself. If he connects, however, it's a pretty good way to do it.
Once it gets to a 4-4, in particular if you can get it to a 4-4 before it ever has to attack, maybe you follow up with turn 3 untap Green Source Vessel and Agency Crack Vessel. That's really powerful. The zombie deck also not great at presenting a 2-2 blocker.
Yeah, you see that his turn 2 play was just Crypt Breaker, so it looks like Zan will get a hit with this Grim Flayer, and that's got to be a win. Now, I think it's interesting here for Zan, he has a Champion of Wits. I was gonna see if he was would cast that. Looks like he'll just fatal push away the Crypt Breaker. That makes this a little simpler. He has Traverse in his hand. Has to decide if he wants to Traverse this turn, because if he does, he needs to do it before the Grim Flayer attack.
Right. Don't want to leave a spell on top. You want to draw and then be interested in shuffling. Currently, he does have access to double blue.
Yeah.
Forest in hand gives him double green. If Distended Mindbender is in the deck, he will need another black source if he wants to emerge that one. And there are going to be games where he wants to find the basic mountain to cast Kozilek's Return.
Zan decides that he will Traverse as he goes and finds a land here. There is some argument for keeping the Traverse because he has this Champion of Wits. If he ends up just discarding the extra card anyway, then he'd rather it were a Traverse than a land.
He does Traverse for a basic swamp, which does suggest that Distended Mindbender is in the mix.
Yeah. He has another Fatal Push in his hand, too. Top 3 cards from Grim Flayer are Collective Brutality, Evolving Wilds, and Yahenni's Expertise.
Expertise, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great card for the matchup. On this board, it's a fine card.
Might want to hang on to the Wild in case he does want to get his hands on a basic mountain for this game. That would be the one color issue he might experience, not being able to cast Kozilek's Return.
First match is done. It is David Long with lands picking up game number 2 and wins the match over Andrew Phillips's Depths Reanimator.
And Zan does bin the Brutality and the Wild, leaving the Expertise on top. Suppose that one's another double black spell as well, so finding the swamp there helps him out on that front.
Hit back from Dread Wanderer from Kyle.
And never to return on the Grim Flayer. We'll stop that one from setting up any more draws.
And with that creature in the now the Grim Flayer's in the graveyard. Now Zan has Delirium.
They'll make future copies better or any future traverses.
Picks up that Yahenni's Expertise he put on the top.
Not time for that one just yet.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? It's a great card in the matchup. It still might end up getting discarded to this champion. And our top 8 shaping up. 2 more teams locking up their spots. The team of Warren, Colazzo, and Zachary Plott are into top 8. The team of Fleischman, Clift, and Cockrell pick up a win that round as well. These players trying to be that 8th team to make it into top 8.
Once again, 3 p.m. Legacy Challenge. Pairings are up.
And go over to Kyle's side. This is a matchup where the return side of Never to Return has a lot of play, and we don't typically see that.
Yeah, there's no Haunted Death in the graveyard just yet, but being able to exile that, being able to exile Kozilek's Return.
Right. He'll use it on Grimflayer, which at first looks pretty underwhelming, but it does take Zan back off Delirium.
Yeah, that was the only creature there.
And Kyle continues to attack with the Dread Wanderer. His hand looks like Liliana's Mastery, Diregraph, Colossus. A lot of left there. Zan will play Champion of Wits, drawing 2. Finds another Grimflayer and another land. Zan's deck's not cooperating particularly well in these games. He has not been very good at finding Kozilek's Return.
Yep. This is one of the downsides of the deck. You know, you don't really have an engine. You have spells you cast individually and churn through your deck that way.
But look at how much is in the balance here. Zan used Champion to discard 2 lands, then skips his land drop and passes. The plays aren't entirely, they're not straightforward with this deck.
There is some tension where you want to conserve lands in your hand just as cards to potentially discard to Haunted Dead, but you also play enough games where you want to get to 7 mana to Eternalize Champion of Wits.
Right. Looks like he's chosen the Haunted Dead way route, the way he's playing so far. I'm not sure you can do both. You don't have actual raw card advantage to eventually just have your cake and eat it too. It feels like you have to pick.
Well, eternalizing the champion is your source of card advantage, but you have to decide so much before that's a possibility.
Right. Kyle makes it up to Liliana's Mastery, card that just shines here. Makes 2 zombies, anthems, his team swings in. The Dread Wanderer will trade with Champion of Wits, and Zan takes 3.
Quote, unquote, trade. Wanderer likely to come back at some point in time.
Or he just doesn't even need it to. Look at his board.
Yeah. A lot of 3/3s hanging out there. Zan at 11.
Okay, well, 3/3s. Zan had a card that could deal with some 3/3s. It's going to be that Yeheni's Expertise. And he puts Grimflayer into play off it. And here is land 5.
Kyle could play, I think he's 1 Diregraph Colossus. If he had 2 and a swamp, that'd be great.
Yeah, looks like picks up Lord of the Accursed. Going to play Westvale Abbey. Looks still just a full hand of cards here for Kyle. It'll be Diregraph Colossus. That's a 3/3. Check, that's a 5/5. Here's Lord of the Accursed. Trigger. Makes another zombie. So look how quickly Kyle reloads. He has a 3/4 zombie, a 6/6, and a 4/4. That is, once again, 13 damage. It's another lethal attack.
Yep. And once again, Zan really needs to set up Kozilek's Return, Elder Deep Fiend. Because the Lord only has 4 toughness right now, it would kill that. That would make the Colossus dead to the return. Though with 3 creatures on the battlefield, it won't be terribly long before Kyle can make Ormondal off that Westvale Abbey. Zan's got to move fast. It's also the fact that these creatures, you know, just kill him.
Liliana the Last Hope. Play for Zan.
When there was Cryptbreaker and Dread Wanderer on the battlefield, Liliana a little bit more exciting.
He mills over Haunted Dead and Evolving Wilds. Maybe he really shouldn't have cut the Kozilek's Returns. They seem like he needs them in this matchup.
Yeah, this is standard. There's nothing like Legacy. You can't intuition for Kozilek's Return. You can't entomb it.
He will take back the champion. Passes the turn. No land drop here. I'll go back to Kyle. He draws another Lord of the Accursed. Gotta look at Kyle's board. So this zombie token's a 4/4. The Colossus, yeah, he's motioning to his teammates. They want him to go for lethal here, and he will. So Lord of the Accursed makes a zombie. Will pump the team again. The untapped Lord of the Accursed could menace his team and swing the other 2 in. Or all his guys are just big enough. He can just go sideways.
Just bash.
And Dark Salvation, the Grimflayer. Oh my. This is very lethal. And he only needs those 2 creatures, but he's going to bring a 3rd one anyway. This is a stun attack for well more than 11.
That
And
should do
no
it.
haze of pollen or anything like that in Zan's deck. So that should do it. Kyle Apgar with Mono Black Zombies is your winner, which means it's going to come down to this game 3. You see the Long Brothers over there already conferring about what they want to do here. And now Zan is going to join in on the team. So it'll come down to Peter Bandy's Affinity deck versus Rob Long's Grixis Shadow.
Last round, Bandi did 2-0 this matchup. Let's see if he's able to get this one in 3.
Yeah, he won game 1, but Rob Long battled back in the 2nd game. No. And so looking on the board, on Rob's side, he's got a Tasigur and a Snapcaster Mage. Looks like Tasigur just got a card back on an activation here. It's looking good for Rob Long. Springleaf Drum and Mox Opal in play for Bandi, but you have to be careful here because there's some poison damage that may have happened. 7 poison on Rob Long.
With Inkmoth Nexus plus Blinkmoth Nexus.
Right. See Galvanic Blast in hand for Peter.
Peter playing a blast-heavy version, 4 Galvanic Blast this weekend, which can allow you to steal games against the Shadow deck, certainly in game 1.
So Rob will attack. Galvanic Blast will shoot down Snapcaster Mage. Peter at 12. So an attack for 6, which would have been a 2-turn clock, might go down to 4, which would make it a 3-turn clock.
In particular, when you're trying to win with poison, just using that blast as a removal spell,
right,
that makes a lot of sense.
And Rob passes the turn. But there is a Fatal Push in Rob's hand. And a swing here for Inkmoth Nexus. Now for the team of Phillips, Bandi, and Apgar, a tough piece of news coming across here. A loss is put onto the team of Todd Stevens, Tom Ross, and Jody Keith, which means the team of Hahn, Burdett, and Wilkerson makes it into top 8. It also eliminates Phillips, Bandi, and Apgar from top 8. Fatal Push from Rob Long.
And with 10 life left over with that Galvanic Blast going towards a creature, Long is now in an extremely good position. You know, he was under a 2-turn clock with the Inkmoth Nexus, but with that off the table, it's going to take a lot more damage, and Blinkmoth Nexus on its own, that's so much slower than Tasigur at closing the game.
Right.
If Bandi could find Etched Champion on the next turn, he can start to turn this around because that just checks Tasigur indefinitely if he's able to resolve one of those.
Yeah, and Peter's going to have to restart on regular damage. He doesn't have another Inkmoth yet. Go back to Rob Long. Picks up another Fatal Push for the turn. He'll attack for 4, Bandi down to 4.
And that turns off Blinkmoth as a chump blocker on the following turn.
Yep, he will pass. It looks like David and Rob Long both winning their matches. Here's another Blinkmoth for Bandi.
And just Springleaf Drum Mox Opal in hand.
Yeah,
all
has
mana
one of
sources.
those, yeah. That's not going to do it. You can see it on his face. They know they're close, but he says go. Rob will start, keep the Tasigur going.
Fatal Push, Snapcaster, Death Shadow, Inquisition. The Inquisition is certainly the worst card in the mix there, and that is the one that's going to go to the hand. So Rob Long could get a look at those 2 more mana sources.
He gets card back. Bandi on chump block mode unless he can find that Etched Champion. Even then, it may be difficult for him. That would be a blocker, but Tassiger will repeatedly get to activate, and Rob could overwhelm even an Etch champion.
Right. Rob just with the fistful of cards as well.
Right. Inquisition of Kozlak, he'll take a look. A bunch of nothing. Takes the Springleaf Drum. Here's Tassiger, gonna Fatal Push the blocker. Peter activates the other Ink Moth, or Blink Moth, he'll block with that. Or he won't, Kozlak's return's gonna do it. So, David Long, Rob Long, and Zan Syed win the round after starting 0-2 today. They rattle off 4 wins. They will finish the Swiss at 11-4. And now they get to wait.
Right. Solid record. Find out exactly where the breakers lie.